shines directly down onto that stadium, and you can really feel it. So I was trying to, shield myself with the heat, and in fact, I had to cover myself with one of the souvenir Pope T-shirts that me and my mom purchased, and then I try to keep cool, of course, by just drinking a lot of cold Coke Zero. So there you go. Hey, there's a shameless plug right there. Coke Zero. Hey, Coca-Cola, Coke Zero. I love Coke Zero. Yeah, all right. uh, there you go, Coke Zero. When you want to quench your thirst at the Pope's telecast, or I don't know where I'm going with that. But and then also too, for some reason there was a bunch of bees that were flying around and or buzzing around, I guess, and some of them kept landing onto my Coke Zero, and so I mean, you can understand. I'm sure you can understand why I wasn't paying much attention. And so, but once the whole thing started, once the mass started, and of course they had this huge screen in the Sun Bowl where they just broadcasted the Pope's mass from Juarez, Mexico, and again it started around 4, and there was the Pope pulled up to the altar in his infamous Pope mobile, and as soon as he got out, started walking up the steps, and everybody started cheering and clapping and hooting and hollering, and so I mean, like I said, it was a pretty interesting experience, unique experience for me, because I've been to a lot of rock concerts and other kind of festival events, and so yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not used to being around a large crowd of people that are cheering for something that's not a band or not some kind of performer. I mean, I don't know. Again, it was unique for me. And then of course the mass was given in Spanish, although there were English subtitles displayed on the screen in the Sun Bowl, and they also had an interpreter on hand for the hearing impaired. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of easy to follow along through the whole thing. Although it was obvious that whoever was in charge of typing out the subtitles, they were kind of like they looked pretty rushed, because they were just trying to keep up with the entire pace of the thing. And then I could imagine also they're probably trying to decide on what would be the most accurate English translation for certain Spanish words. And so yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I like that the Pope brought attention to a lot of the recent violence that's been going on in Juarez, Mexico. And I also like the fact that he mentioned, he pretty much reminded people to always show mercy, love, and respect for all people, including those who do you harm, including those who you may consider to be your enemies. So I like that, mostly because it lines up with my own spiritual beliefs and ideals. I will say the one thing that made me feel just a little bit uncomfortable was when every time he used the word conversion. And granted, I know that word conversion, it can mean any number of things. But of course I do know that when used by the Catholic Church, whether it's the Roman Catholic Church or within Judeo-Christian doctrine. Of course, the word conversion to them, of course, usually only means one thing, and that's, talking about dealing with the whole process of converting someone to, the Roman Catholic religion or the Christian religion. So, I mean, I guess for me, I would say if I was somebody who could get easily offended, then I would say, yeah, I probably would have been offended by that. But since I'm not, I was just kind of like, I just kind of like brush it off. And, because for me, I pretty much decided just, for me, conversion is similar to the word transmutation. And transmutation just involves, taking one thing, turning one thing into something else, taking something and turning it into something else, for example, such as, turning darkness into light, or turning something bad into something good, So that's what I took it to mean. Even though I think I'm pretty sure that that's not what the Pope meant by when he used the word conversion. But yeah, I mean, other than that, hey, and another thing I thought was pretty cool was it was cool to see so many people, just being kind to each other. Even though for the most part, before everything started, we were all kind of walking around and, trying to squeeze past each other. And but for the most part, I thought it was pretty interesting to see so many people just, being kind to each other and just, kind of just being united over one singular event. And essentially, it was nice to see people come together over an event that had nothing to do with sports. Nothing to do with sports. Nothing to do with politics. Well, I mean, you could say that religion and politics do kind of tend to bump into each other a lot. But you could say the same thing about everything else. But it was definitely, just good to see people come together over something other than a football game, something other than, celebrity, some dumb celebrity mouthing off, or, in that sense, it was good to see that. And of course, I did appreciate the Pope's overall message of peace and love, because love is universal, and which I think that's something that we as human beings always forget. We forget it on a daily basis, really, when you think about it. We forget that love is universal and that each and every one of us is worthy of love. It doesn't matter whether we each have our own definition of what love is. What matters is that we all do agree that love is something that's, universal. It's something that all of us do seek out at some point. Yeah, whether we seek it out externally or internally, the point is, if we know it's there, we know it's there. We know it's universal. Love is universal. So there's no denying that. I mean, yeah, we could deny it, but up to a certain point. So, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting event. I also wrote about it on my blog. If you want to check that out, I just wrote this kind of short thing about it, and of course, so you can check that out on my blog, which is just noiselessmadman.wordpress.com. Definitely check that out. Also follow me on Twitter. Twitter handle is just @noiselessmadman. All lowercase, all one word. If you need the URL, that is, of course, twitter.com/noiselessmadman. So yeah, there you go. The Pope's telecast. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna move on here. If you want to read about it further, you can do that on my blog, noiselessmadman.wordpress.com. Okay, so the only movie I wanted to talk about was last night. In fact, I saw this really great movie. It's titled Mr. Nobody. It stars Jared Leto, or Jared Leto, I don't know how you say his name. Of course, he's playing the Joker in the upcoming Suicide Squad movie. But this movie, I really liked it. I'd seen a lot of previews about it, and last night, I was kind of just browsing through Netflix, and I saw this movie was available on there, and I mean, wow, I was really blown away by it. Essentially, Jared Leto, he plays this guy who he's supposed to be the last mortal on Earth, because it takes place sometime in the future, or sometime around the year 2092, and he's already, like, I want to say about 114 or 118 years old or something like that. And he's trying to, because he's the last mortal, also too, I guess, because there's a point where civilization gets to the point where they are able to stop the aging process, I guess you could say. Or if not the aging process, they're able to stop, I guess, cellular decay. They're essentially able to stop death. So they pretty much do away with death altogether. And so Jared Leto's character, who is named Nemo Nobody, he's the last mortal, the last person who was able to die. He was able to die from old age. So, and he's trying to remember all these things that he experienced in his life. But at the same time, he also kind of remembers all these other choices, all these choices that he didn't make, and including the ones that he did make. But pretty much to him, even choices that he didn't make are also the ones that he did make. And it can get kind of confusing, but it makes you think. And I like these kind of movies that make you think. I mean, I don't know. You definitely got to see it. It's kind of a long movie, 2 hours, or I believe a little bit over 2 hours, but it's definitely worth it. It's one of those movies that makes you think a lot, and it has elements, of course, of sci-fi and romance and comedy, action, and so it's got a little bit of something for everybody. And above all, it just really makes you think. So, I mean, I really like it. You definitely gotta see it, because, yeah, just trust me, it's it's worth seeing. So that there you go, Mr. Nobody. So on a scale of 1 tamale to 10 tamales, I would give Mr. Nobody a definite. I'd give it a definite 10. I was gonna say 9, only because it is kind of long. But I figured, I can't fault it for that. So 10 out of 10 is definitely worth seeing. Check it out. It's available right now for streaming on Netflix. So there you go. That'll do it for episode 8 of the Noiseless Madman podcast. I thank you once again for listening. I do want to remind you again, check out my blog, noiselessmadman.wordpress.com. And follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/noiselessmadman. So, yeah, thanks again for listening, following, all that good stuff. Until next time, keep it real, and peace.